Welcome back to Food Service Insights, and I'm your host, diving into one of the most critical challenges facing our industry today. Picture this: it's the week before a major holiday. You've got 3 large events booked, and suddenly your primary food distributor calls with news that half your order can't be delivered due to supply chain disruptions. Sound familiar? Today we're exploring how food distributors actually handle emergency supply shortages. And more importantly, what this means for caterers who depend on reliable bulk food distribution. This isn't just theory. We've all lived through unprecedented supply chain challenges over the past few years, and the lessons learned are reshaping how smart distributors and caterers work together. Whether you're running a boutique catering company or managing large-scale events, understanding these distribution strategies could be the difference between a successful event and a complete disaster. Now, let's talk about the foundation of modern food distribution. Successful distributors don't rely on a single approach. They've mastered 3 distinct distribution models that work together like a well-orchestrated safety net. Think about this. When one system faces disruption, having 2 other systems ready to activate can literally save your business. The first model is direct manufacturer relationships. This is where distributors maintain close partnerships with food producers, often securing priority allocations during shortages. What's interesting is that these relationships aren't just about placing orders. They involve sharing forecasting data, understanding seasonal demands, and sometimes even co-investing in inventory management systems. When emergency shortages hit, distributors with these deep relationships often get the first call when new inventory becomes available. Here's where it gets really strategic. The second model involves regional distribution networks. Instead of relying solely on national suppliers, smart distributors cultivate relationships with regional producers and specialty vendors. Consider this: when nationwide beef shortages affected major suppliers, distributors with strong regional networks could pivot to local farms and specialty meat processors. Sure, the products might be different brands or slightly different specifications, but events could continue as planned. The third model, and this might surprise you, is the strategic excess inventory system. Forward-thinking distributors maintain calculated overstock of critical items. Not everything, because that would be financially impossible, but key staples that form the backbone of most catering operations. We're talking about items like cooking oils, certain spices, basic proteins, and shelf-stable ingredients that caterers absolutely cannot do without. Now, let's dive into something that makes food distribution uniquely complex: those strict temperature controls. Emergency supply shortages aren't just about finding replacement products. They're about maintaining the cold chain integrity that keeps food safe. Think about this challenge. Your regular supplier of fresh seafood can't deliver, so your distributor sources from an alternative supplier 3 states away. Every mile of that journey requires precise temperature management, proper documentation, and often expedited logistics that cost significantly more. Here's the key point that many caterers miss. During emergency shortages, distributors often have to completely restructure their delivery routes and warehouse operations. Instead of their usual efficient hub-and-spoke model, they might implement emergency direct ship protocols, use refrigerated courier services, or even coordinate with competitor distributors to share transportation resources. What's fascinating is how technology plays into this. Modern distributors use predictive analytics to anticipate potential shortages before they become critical. They're monitoring weather patterns that might affect agricultural regions, tracking transportation disruptions, and even analyzing social media trends that might indicate emerging demand spikes. When distributors can see potential problems weeks in advance, they can build buffer inventory or secure alternative sources before caterers even realize there's an issue brewing. But here's what really matters for your catering business: understanding how to position yourself as a priority customer during these emergency situations. Distributors make tough decisions about allocation when supplies are limited, and they typically prioritize their most reliable, communicative, and flexible customers. Consider this: caterers who maintain open communication about their upcoming needs, who who pay invoices promptly, and who show flexibility when substitutions are necessary, often find themselves at the top of the priority list when shortages occur. It's not just about the size of your orders. It's about being the kind of customer that distributors want to protect and maintain relationships with. This brings us to a crucial insight that could transform how you approach vendor relationships. The most successful caterers don't just have one primary distributor. They cultivate relationships with 2 or 3 distributors, even if they do most of their business with just one. These secondary relationships become invaluable during emergency shortages, providing alternative sourcing options that can keep your operations running smoothly. Here's another key takeaway. Successful caterers work with their distributors to develop emergency substitution protocols before shortages occur. This means having detailed conversations about acceptable alternatives for your signature items, understanding lead times for special orders, and sometimes even developing backup menu options that use more readily available ingredients. The bottom line is this: emergency supply shortages are no longer rare occurrences that catch everyone off guard. They're becoming a regular part of the business landscape, and the food service professionals who thrive are those who understand and prepare for these challenges proactively. If you found today's insights valuable and want to dive deeper into building resilient supply chain relationships for your catering business, visit our website at foodserviceinsights.com. You'll find detailed guides on vendor relationship management, emergency planning templates, and real-world case studies from caterers who've successfully navigated major supply disruptions. Until next time, keep those supply lines strong and those backup plans ready.